Hi everyone, today we're troubleshooting the Porsche 928. Our focus today will be on the starting system. As stated in the last video, this car does not crank, nor does the dash light up. I'm hoping we can identify the problem and get this engine cranking today. Let's get started. So the last Porsche 928 that I worked on had a bad ground. This one right here seems to be beaten to death by a hammer. I'm going to go ahead and replace this just so I know we have a good connection. Look at that corrosion right there. I'm just using a simple auto parts ground, nothing too fancy. I'll have to find some battery hold downs at a later date, but for now this should work just fine. Alright, so with the battery connected here, let's go ahead and see if we get any lights on the dash or if it cranks. Nothing. I am seeing this light on the dash come up or glow, but that's it. There's nothing on the dash. Yep. I'm now looking at the starter underneath the engine. We have a couple extra wires going to it. I'm assuming that this wire going to the solenoid was to bypass the ignition and jump it. I'm going to check our voltage at the terminals here. A lot of times this wire here running all the way from the battery up front to the car can sometimes short out. That's what happened on my 1984. So we'll check our connections here and then go from there. I might try to bump the starter just to see if we'll get it rotating. Oh man. There's another wrench. I'm getting 11.93 volts. So this wire going up from the battery is doing its job. The entire engine is getting 12 volts. I've already checked the oil on this engine. We do have plenty of motor oil, so it is safe for us to bump the starter a little bit. Now that we know that the starter motor itself is working, I'm going to jump terminal 50 with my positive wire and see if we can get this thing to crank. Starter works. That's progress right there. Moving up to the top of the engine bay, on the right side there's a jump post. I'm going to check the voltage at this point to check to see if the current is flowing from the starter up to this jump post. This will tell us if the wiring is good on the engine. Looks like we got 12 volts, so we should be good. This here is the 14-pin connector that connects the engine itself to the rest of the wire harness on the car. According to this diagram from Renlist, pin 14 connects the car to terminal 50 on the starter. Now if I disconnect the 14-pin connector from the rest of the car, I can jump pin 14 with this wire to the jump post. This should give us power to the starter and get the car cranking. Looks like it's working. So now we know all the wiring to the starter, at least on the engine side, is okay. Now we can backtrack to the circuit board and eventually to the ignition to see where our problem is, where it doesn't turn over. Now under the dash and the passenger side footwell is our relay panel. And spot 14 is the starter relay, but it's actually missing on this car. Over to the right on spot 21 is the same exact type of relay, but actually used for the HVAC system. Since the two systems use the exact same part number, I'm going to rob the HVAC system of its relay, test it, and then put it in the starter position. There's a website called 928's that provides a fantastic chart of the relays and fuses on a 928. I'll leave the link in the description below. So I'm going to use my multimeter to check if this works. and we'll plug it in. Now 85 and 86 need to be connected so they can bridge these 30 and 87. Taking my 12 volt power source, connect to 85 to 86, 85, and 86. So it's clicking. Now if I check for continuity right now without it connected, I don't get anything. Once I click this on, I get continuity. So this one is good. And I'm going to end up doing this with every single relay, just following the diagram and then checking it. But first I'm going to plug this back into spot 16 and let's see if it cranks over. Let's go ahead and put this relay back in. There we go. Alright, with the relay back in, let's see if this thing starts. And that's it. Car's cranking now. Well, that's all I have for you guys today. The following troubleshooting measures were enough to get this car to crank. In the event that your car is still not cranking, I would suggest looking at the ignition switch. There are some wire diagrams available online. You might have to search a little bit for them. They should provide a good explanation on what system does what and what terminal you need to pin out. Thanks for watching. If you guys know of anybody having issues with their 928, make sure you share this video with them. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. In the meantime, you guys take it easy, and I'll see you in the next one.